What's up, everybody? It's Alex from Heavy New York. We are back at my house today before the oh-so-incredible Demonfest with Fit for an Autopsy and Traders at Gramercy Theater. And today we are here with my good friends in The Machinist. Thank you all for being here.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, it's great to have you back. A lot of people loved you on the podcast that you guys were on, which was over a year ago. I can't believe it's been that long.
Time just keeps flying by, and it's really upsetting because I remember specifically like right after that night that we had actually played that show, and that interview was just we were just drained completely.
Sorry if this interview is not as entertaining as that one,
No.
but
I realized when I asked you, because we were partying at Duff's, and I totally asked you like less than 24 hours to when we were going to do that interview.
Sounded like this, I'm pretty sure.
Oh, you did. It sounded like you were the one doing both.
It's like, nope, I just yelled for one song.
But it's great to have you here. I feel like this is a good time to do this because you guys got some new music coming out, right?
we do. We can't really talk too much about that, but
Yeah, there's not too much we could say.
we
But
do have a bunch of really big announcements coming up, and yeah, we can't wait until everything gets
When I stop
released.
recording, you'll be telling me, right?
no.
But it was really cool because after I saw that documentary with you, Amanda, it really like enlightened me more about your band because I thought that you guys were very tight live with your vocals and with the guitar playing, and everybody in your band really plays a role that I find so significant.
Thank you.
And it seems like what I wanted to really talk about was both of you individually as musicians. Like, I'll start off with you, Amanda, because your vocals, as you mentioned, you really find yourself in this scene in the world of heavy metal and everything like that. Do you need to hear music before you could come up with lyrics, or do sometimes Josh and Toby and the rest kind of write according to your concepts?
Well, no, usually like music gets written by Josh first, and then he sends it out to everybody in an email, and there's usually like 45 songs in this email. No joke.
I have no life.
And so he'll send that out, and then I'll usually get inspiration from listening to certain bands. I'll listen to something like Behemoth or Job for Cowboy or whatever it may be, and I'll get some sort of inspiration from that, or I'll get inspired from the music alone and, you know, write whatever comes to mind. And then when we go to the studio, everything gets cleaned up, you know, when we work with our producer and whatnot. So
The weird thing is though, she has her way of doing that. Sometimes I write music based on what I think she could do over it. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'll write certain pieces of music that kind of play to the strengths of the band members. If I'm like, man, I think Toby will fucking kill it with this like crazy bass line, or Steve will fucking rip it with some crazy shit, or she'll do some like death metal-y thing, whatever she wants to do, you know? So it's finding the nice medium where everybody could meet. And yeah, I get inspired by my own bandmates, and I think that's the thing that's so important. It's like, find your sound and then just keep working on it, because I feel like some bands just like find it and then they just stay there. They don't want to like progress. Yeah, exactly. That's like probably the best way to put it. And I mean, it's just an approach I've had for the past, like, I want to say like
I would
2
definitely
years.
say that the new album is definitely a lot different than the EP, and that's all that we can really say. Machinist is changing our sound, and I think it's for the better, honestly. And it does help that we all listen to similar music as well, and we all get like, you know, our creativity comes from like the same type of place, which is really cool. And a lot of it has to do with like, you know, a lot of dark times and stuff. So there's a lot of like relations with us, and then with like, you know, everyone that listens to our music. So that's really important to us, that people can relate to everything. And that's why, you know, like the lyric process is really important. The writing process is extremely important. It's not just to make like metal, which is fuck yeah, it's sick, but, you know, it's also to like reach out and like really grasp the audience's attention. And
Well, it's funny because when I first saw you, the first time I ever saw you guys live was at that show at the studio at Webster Hall last year, and I really, like, not to pigeonhole you guys by any means, but clearly you guys definitely have like a appeal to like the deathcore crowd. Anybody who loves Whitechapel or Thy Art Is Murder, and you even sang with Thy Art Is Murder
Yes,
on
I did.
stage, which
Yes, I
was
did.
awesome. And if anybody has video of that, please comment on the video on that.
We're diet deathcore.
Yeah, but I mean, diet deathcore.
Yeah.
I've never heard you say that before.
It's like we're heavy enough to play with these deathcore bands, but then you put us up against like Oceano or fucking or Whitechapel, it's just like,
Well, the thing is, because deathcore has such an emphasis on breakdowns and everything, but from listening to your guitar work, and I know you're not gonna like how I keep complimenting you in this, but the guitar soloing at the beginning of "Wake Up" is just absolutely remarkable, which you don't hear that much. Or then something like more emotional or moody, like a song like "Colorless," for example.
Well, I mean, I think it's important to show your diversity and what you can do. And I mean, if it sounds good, like, why the fuck change it? I think that's another thing. Us as a band, we've grown so much, not only as a band, but as individuals, and everything that we've been doing or we are going to do is a representation of how we've changed as a band. That record you heard, it's 2 years old already. I think it's going on 3 years. We were completely different people back then. It was a completely different mindset, and now the new stuff is like,
we take this a lot more serious.
Yes.
Like this is a very serious, like now I think like when speaking for myself, when I first joined the Machinist, I really just wanted to like have fun, play shows, get drunk. But now I I really want to like play music because I really love it, and I want to make this something I do for the rest of my life, hopefully. And
Absolutely.
That whole mindset came because we found the right members, everyone clicked, we all work really well together, and that all helps. And then we have a great fan base. You're really awesome. Like, we've met so many great people, and you guys all have helped us get this far. So we really appreciate it.
You played our second showcase, which is awesome.
Yeah.
with the pigeonholing thing, though, that's the thing. There's so many deathcore bands out there. How are you supposed to stand out compared to 30 fucking deathcore bands that are just in your region alone? You have to do something that's going to be able to separate you from the rest of the herd. And the guitar work that you were talking about, I feel like people are afraid to just go a little bit further.
Not knocking deathcore though.
No,
Deathcore
I love deathcore.
We interviewed Jason Richardson earlier this year, and he, because he used to play with Chelsea Grin, and now he's doing
All Shall Perish, too.
Yeah, All Shall Perish and Born of Osiris for like 20 minutes, but he mentioned that with deathcore, it's not that he had a problem with playing it, but he wanted to do more than just write breakdowns, and he kind of had to, when he was in Chelsea Grin, kind of had to focus more on people who like songs like Requiem and bands like that.
I mean, the record he did was phenomenal. I mean, it's
Agreed.
he's just a nasty player, and I think that shows. And just like how we were explaining before, you want to be able to express yourself in the best way possible, but in the way that it fits to the band. And I could see where he was coming, with that. But I'm lucky enough where I can kind of do some wanky shit on my guitar, and they'll think all right, that's cool, just as long as it's not too long or it's too overbearing, like the Wake Up thing. It just kind of happened, and they were like, that's fucking cool. Let's do that. And then it kind of took off from there. So, I mean, it's just a matter of just not playing the same shit over and over again, and just be fresh, be new. And there's still deathcore bands that are coming out till this day that I'm like, that's pretty fucking good. Hell yeah.
But I've noticed some deathcore bands have been kind of bridging their style. I'll give you an example, Amir. People say what they want, but Amir kind of has a new metal charm to their deathcore sound, or Upon a Burning Body that has a groovy.
When both of those bands first came out, I mean, I love Amir. I've loved Amir since I was young. They're a Queens band. We're a Queens band. But
shout out to Frankie, you're awesome.
From the first album, to the album that they're doing now, it's just a musical progression. That's the way that it should be. You should always want to progress your sound and make the best version of your sound, so nobody can tell you, oh, that's not this band, that's not this band. It's when you hear us, it's that's the Machinist. That's, so-and-so, and that's the overall goal of it.
Yep.
Now, with making music, whether it would have been your first EP or this new music that you're making now, do you kind of have a preconceived idea of what you like to do with your music? Because I've noticed that there's some political commentary in your music, and then there's some personal commentary, and as I mentioned before, the instrumentals really back up the vocals and vice versa. Do you have a idea in your head before you start making music, or is there any improvising involved?
I think that as far as for lyrics, we really just talk about a lot of dark shit. So it could be darkness in a political sense, in a personal sense, in any sort of way. And I feel like that is a really with people nowadays being so sad all the time, I feel like letting them know that they're not the only people that feel upset about certain things, it just that really helps us want to push that out.
I think it's
more too.
I like to focus on the human experience. Like everything can be boiled down, or at least for our band, mental health issues, political issues, you know, nature issues,
stuff about racism, women's rights, everything.
It's a human experience. We all experience the same things, some different than others, but at the end of the day, we're all of flesh and blood, and we want to be able to voice something that we experience or just what's happening. Because I feel like a lot of music kind of fell off with it. And I think it's important to shed light on to a lot of things that have been kind of like pushed in the dark, especially with the heavy community. Mental illness is a huge thing within the heavy community, and we all need to be really supportive of one another with that. And lyrically, especially what she's been doing for the newer stuff, I think that it appeals to somebody who's maybe feeling that way, and it's just like, I'm not alone. I remember Slipknot's Iowa did that for me when I was growing up. I think I was like 9 or 10 when that album came out, but
2001, right?
Yeah, dude, that album changed my life, and just the lyrical content. Like, I felt so much like hate and rage because I was the weird kid that wore black all the time, listened to weird music. I got picked on, and it's just like, this dude like understands, what I'm. Even though I'm a young kid, but it was just something I could relate to, and it might have been something different for him, but it was a piece of music that still to this day is on heavy rotation. Like, that album is like.
Yeah,
but
I agree too.
It's something that should always reflect, the human. Like I said, the human experience. It's really important. I think music is kind of losing its touch with that, and I think it's slowly coming back. And it's unfortunately because there's so much bad shit happening, and it sucks that it has to be that way. But times change, and
great art has never come out of good circumstances.
No, not at all.
I learned that in art history class.
No,
Totally
dude.
true, man.
Like, it's one of those things. It's the natural progression of life.
Well, I also think art, to me, whether it's painting or music or writing or whatever, no matter what you're doing, making art is a form of rebellion one way or another. So when you are living, let's say we live in a world full of peace and love and everything is great, and I think the art is just going to subconsciously rebel against that, and it's going to look like shit. So
the heavy community is the counterculture, dude.
Yeah.
It always will be. It's the place where, if you're feeling like a misfit, feeling like an outcast, you go to a metal show, everybody's there for the same fucking reason that you are. They just want to headbang, listen to some good music, maybe have a couple beers, smoke a little weed. It's literally the same way across the board any heavy show you go to. I usually meet some of the best people I've ever met through heavy music, and I still have a lot of good friends through. You're one of them. We've only known each other a short amount of time, but you're a really good friend of mine, Mm-hmm. And it's one of those things. It's one of those things that brings people together, and I think that's so important.
Yeah, the metal community is super tight, and that's why it's really important for us to write shit that everyone can fucking relate to, so that way we can all just stick together
and
rebel
together.
Yeah, and whether or not we're rebelling, I just think it's really important that we're just all together through everything, whether it be good or bad, and that's super important for us.
Yeah,
then.
I mean, there's times where people go to a concert. I remember when I was at that show at Vitus, it was a really long day for me that day, and I remember it felt like that day never happened after I saw your set, and I was scared shitless that I was going to miss your set that day too.
That was last winter, right?
Yeah.
When we were on tour with Phil.
That was like the coldest fucking day I've ever experienced. We'll see hearing shit like that makes everything worth it, because for us, we were having a rough day. We had just gotten back to New York. I think we came from like Michigan or whatever.
In one day, you went?
No, not one day, but like we were on our way back, and the cold pretty much followed us all the way back. So we're all in low spirits and stuff like that. It was really cold, just shit wasn't working out, and then we had a good set. We enjoyed it, and hearing stuff like that makes the experience that much worth it. It was just, she's laughing because it was just,
I'm just laughing because the night before it was definitely
we also partied a little too hard, so we
might have drank a little too much whiskey the night before.
There's no such thing as too much whiskey.
Okay, we mixed a couple of bottles, right? It was whiskey, vodka, rum. It was a good night.
Oh,
Dude, oh my
it's
god.
like
Metal,
drinking
man,
a
come
Molotov
on.
cocktail.
Yeah. Oh my
It's
god.
metal. It's like a Long Island, but not.
That's why I don't drink Long Island iced teas anymore, man. Nope. Two, and I'm just like, woo!
Oh, now I know what I'm gonna get you before you play tonight.
Please,
gosh.
dude. It'll get me all loosey goosey.
Please don't.
Oh man.
And when you hear people say on how their music like helps them, I'd imagine that you look at the music that you made with a completely different perspective than when you wrote it, right?
I look at it as
I think it's just a progression. I don't think it's completely different. I just think it's
I
there's progress.
It stokes me out that somebody appreciates shit that took me maybe sometimes days to complete, and me thinking in my head, man, it's not good enough. It's not, my band's not gonna like it. The people aren't gonna like it, and people being like, yo, that song's shit. I'm like, fuck, man, that's so awesome. It just it changes your whole perspective on it, and just like everybody else, you have your days where you're not feeling so hot, and you gotta remind yourself, not necessarily say like I'm the shit, but it's like I'm doing something that makes other people happy, and that makes me happy because bands before me did that for me. Like, I'm a huge Pantera fan. Like, I'm a huge like Cradle of Filth fan, all that shit, and listening to those bands gave me like the inspiration to do what I do today, and that's the ultimate goal. I just want to keep giving back to what was given to me, and I'm pretty sure the same can go for her. It's just paving the way for the next generation to be like, yo, I fucking love The Machinist. I want to have a band that sounds like that. And then, while we're all great.
But that will never happen because nothing sounds like The Machinist.
Well, look, nothing sounds like
anything.
Yeah, like.
As much as we want to say that, like,
nothing.
Who
sounds like System of a Down?
Puddle of Mud.
No, stop it.
He really just said puddle of mud.
But
Take it all the way.
everything derives from something.
Shove it in my face?
I don't know the words like that. Nope. Don't do that to me. Nope.
Oh, can you please cover that
Oh
song?
my gosh! See what happens? Why do you even?
Bring
No.
the early thousands back.
We wanted to do a System of a Down cover pretty bad, but now that we're just like focusing on our own stuff, we're like, we don't got time for other people's music. We gotta
one
work
day.
on our own stuff.
It'll
But
be
yeah,
like-
maybe one day we would have
It'll
fun.
be like a B-side thing. Like,
And then it'll end up being like the biggest hit you guys ever had.
You know what? That would be so fucking funny. But
Well, yeah,
it
but
would be like,
and then we would have to just like give everything to System of a Down. 'cause
yeah,
they
pretty
were
much.
godly.
And I'd be like, you know what, dude? Like, this is a dope song. Fuck it, whatever. I'll be poor for a few years. It's okay.
Oh, and before, I love you guys so much. I was more
love you too.
I was more excited to do this interview than ever. But before we go, I want to thank you guys so much for your time. But with coming from New York City, Queens, we just gave our homage to Amir and so many amazing bands such as Candiria and whatnot. What do you think that with New York? Because at the Demonfest today, we got a bunch of awesome bands from New York. Fit for an Autopsy's from Long Island, and I consider
We got some Jersey bands too.
Yep, I consider Long Island and Jersey to be the 6th and 7th borough at this point.
Yeah, pretty much.
And Anahata as well. And,
Grievance from Jersey.
Yep. So with so much amazing talent, do you think the New York City scene has been thriving lately?
I would say so in the past few years because for a while,
These shows were booked at the Morgan in Brooklyn,
Yeah.
and now they're finally booking these shows at
fucking Gramercy
venues like
and
Gramercy
shit,
Theater.
yeah. I mean, it's definitely, and it's a good thing because all the bands that we started playing with initially back in like 2012, a lot of them are either like not really doing stuff or they're broken up. And for a while, there wasn't a lot of New York City bands, and it kind of bummed me out because it's like, this is New York fucking City, man. This is like the home of hardcore, Like, there's so many great... Kiss and Anthrax are from New York. Like, you can't not have good bands coming out of New York City. And now all these newer bands are coming out, and it's thriving, and that's a good thing. That's the way it should be. There should always be the next generation of kids that are willing to bust their shit and have their voice heard because, I mean, that's what the music is about, man. Like, at least for me.
Yeah, for sure.
But it's definitely a good thing, and I hope to see it continue, and I hope to see the generation beneath them, start hustling and doing their shit. Because, like, I would love to one day headline, like, one of these venues and have a band from, like, Queens or so be like, yo, dude, like, I remember seeing you guys back in, like, 2013, and I'm so stoked to see you. Like, that shit is cool.
It's awesome. One of our hometown boys, Tommy Vext, he's been taken off now with Bad Wolves. And
Yeah, they just went platinum with Zombies.
Congratulations.
actually. Yep.
Yep.
Cheers to Tommy
Yeah, and
Shit is crazy.
but just to think, like I didn't, but a lot of people remember seeing him play with like Vexed back in the day.
Yep.
Were you one of them?
I've known about Tommy for so long, and we actually recently became friends a couple years back, and he's just like one of the nicest guys, so supportive. And I'm like, dude, I can't even believe that we're friends, because when I was a teenager, I was like watching you.
Yeah, he's
you
a
were
fan.
so inspired. Yeah.
Like that's fucking rad, dude. Like
He's great.
I love
He's so
Divine
supportive
Heresy.
of us.
Like that. Like
That's how I found out about Tommy Vex was
Dude,
Divine Heresy.
Oh my! That's
And
if this channel was around during 2007, Bleed the Fifth would have been
like,
number one.
But that's what I'm saying. Like we're at a point now where like we're meeting people who we grew up listening to who are like, yo, I fuck with your music, and it's like,
Yeah.
oh, that's so sick.
It's awesome.
So yeah, we're very excited about
We
everything.
just want everybody to prosper and thrive. That's
Yeah.
it. That's what music is about. Why make it a competition? Play your shit. Do what you got to do. You know, do what you like. I don't know. Smoke weed, play guitar, whatever it may be. But
Yeah.
Yeah.
thanks, guys.
So before we go, just I know you guys are working on new music, and anything you could tell me on the air before I stop rolling, and you tell me everything. Like, can we be expecting a release date for the new music and everything?
We don't have a date yet, but I want to say within the next couple of months, there will be an announcement. Can't tell you guys what it is, but if everyone just follows us on social media and just keeps in touch with our announcements,
I think I could say this much: it is not an EP.
Yeah, it's not an EP.
It is not. You're getting the whole shebang bang. All of this, you're getting this plus more because it's not an EP.
Intense talking into the camera. All of this.
All
You
of
see
this.
Oh,
Yeah, I think that's all I could say for now.
all right.
And that we love you.
Yes,
Oh, I love you guys more. I love you guys more. I'm so gonna be the groupie tonight at Demonfest.
Many more interviews to come because
We have
should,
a group.
We should do this like once every 6 months.
We need to start co-hosting the show together.
I don't know if that's the best idea.
We got to get like a 30 rack of PBR, and it's
Why
lit.
can't we get good beer? Anyway, let's not even get into that.
I mean, somebody once gave me a beer one time that I just called it liquid yeast infection.
Oh
But,
my God.
but everybody on that note, we are here with my good friends in The Machinist. They have new music coming soon. We are about to go rage and rock out at Demonfest, featuring Fit for an Autopsy and Traders and so many amazing bands. This is Alex from Heavy New York. We'll see you next time. Love you guys.
Yo, I love you too, man. For real.